Let's go inside the actual briefings. How do you decide what question to ask? Jake, you go first.
Well, first of all, there is an order. The Associated Press goes first, then Reuters goes second, and usually I'm either third or fourth. So often the questions that I would ask have been asked, but I'm certainly more fortunate than most of the others.
When do you start writing your questions through the briefing? Or do you have little notes all over your house?
Usually no, it's more like whatever you get up, you start reading the papers, you read what's on the internet, you ask questions of the administration before the briefing, and then you might just want... The best questions are the ones where you're actually trying to just find out the answer to a question that they're avoiding answering.
And do you make a list? Do you have a list in your pocket and then you just go straight down your list?
No, there's just a bunch of subjects that I'm interested in hearing their response. Often there'll be something that perhaps either I or one of my colleagues at ABC wants an on-camera response for their piece. So I might be asking a question on behalf of a colleague who's, for instance, just to throw one out, Lisa Stark covers a lot of the regulatory agencies for ABC, so perhaps she would want an answer on the FAA, for example. I might ask a question about that.
And let me say something about Jake's questions. They're terrific, and he follows up on other reporters' questions. He's not just in there with his own agenda, and and his questions break a lot of news too. From someone who sits in the back, who never gets called on, I appreciate what you do up front.
Thank you, I appreciate it, but I do feel bad about the people.
I don't feel bad. I get my questions asked when I go in the office. You know,
right.
The briefing. I mean, I'm print. The briefing doesn't move me.
Well, that's the right question, Jake. Though, is there more of? I mean, you're a longtime print reporter. TV now for many years, but still, do you feel more uncomfortable when you know you're on camera?
It's weird. It's definitely weird because, well, first of all, Gibbs and I talk to Gibbs many times a day and have been for several years. And I think it was an adjustment for both of us to all of a sudden have these exchanges on camera, and there's a different tone. For instance, like somebody might make in a private conversation between me and Gibbs, there might be a little edge or a little joking camaraderie or whatever that all of a sudden when it's in front of the world, it takes on a different tone. So I think that was an adjustment for both of us.
For the briefing, can you have as many follow-ups as possible?
You can try.
Some people seem to take as many follow-ups as possible. I will say one thing. The briefing is just a very, very small part of the job of a White House correspondent.
It's really true.
It's a very small part of it. Most of the questions you ask are like Julie's. They're behind closed doors or in the press room. Most of the work we do is not in that room during the briefing. And in fact, an argument could be made that televising the briefing, while wonderful and in the interest of transparency, actually hurts the interest of journalism being committed.
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, in the same way that televising, the O.J. trial, theoretically hurt Judge Ito's credibility. One could argue.
It becomes a show. It becomes a show, and oftentimes reporters are judged so much on the questions they ask in the briefing. When, as Jake says, it's such a tiny part of what we do, it sort of becomes counterproductive.
You have unfettered access to Robert Gibbs and his team prior to the briefings and after?
If they're in their office, yeah, you can always just
Sometimes
walk in.
Fettered.
Fettered.
It's occasionally fettered access.
Is
But
fettered better than
you
unfettered?
can always just walk in. And that's been the case with the press secretaries for years.
They're pretty accessible.
Yeah.